Hi all, in this video I talked to Trish who tried lots of things to try and recover from CFS. She tried brain training programs 3 times, and in this video she shares why the third attempt got her back to full health and the top tips she would have given herself when she first got sick. I'd love to know what your key takeaways are from Trish's tips. Enjoy the video. Hello everybody, my name's Simon Pimenta. Today I'm talking to Trish Covich, who's going to tell us about her CFS recovery story. So hello Trish.
Hello Simon.
So Trish, tell us where you are in the world.
So I'm living in New Zealand, and I'm in the North Island, in Kohukohu, in a little town. But yeah, that's where we live and we love it.
Okay, sounds lovely. So before we kind of get into the start of you developing CFS, tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life before you got sick. What were you doing? Yeah, just give us a bit of background information.
Yeah. So I was I was working as a therapist in family work. So I was working with families. But prior to that, I was studying for a degree to be a narrative therapist. And then throughout that whole time studying, I was getting more and more run down. Um, and I tended to be quite prone to lung infections. I was asthmatic, and I was getting them every year, and even pneumonia, to the point where I was dragging myself to study. And
Right.
so I was pretty run down. And prior to that, I was just always burning both ends of the candle type person.
Right.
Um, so quite a busy mind going,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was just always doing something, always sorting something, and going to bed really late, and just kind of racing to get to the end, which you never really get to the end of, do you, in life? It's just
Yeah.
a bit of a race that's not good for you. Looking back now, I can see I would never want to be that person again. So
Right. Okay. So it sounds like, there was kind of quite a lot going on, quite a lot of firefighting. And when did the CFS start?
and so then when I was working, so I got through my first year, and during the year I could feel myself getting really tired, and it was like it was like my mind was saying, I need a break, and I wasn't listening.
Right.
And I
Okay.
knew
And when was
I
this? When was
that
this?
was sort of about 7 months through being full-time counselling, right, and really busy, one after the other client. It wasn't safe practice for a
Yeah.
new counsellor. It was really full on as well. And but I wasn't sick or anything. I was just really tired and pushing, and I wasn't enjoying it because of that. So then my twin daughters, they came down with glandular fever, and I got it, and I got really sick. I was like,
Okay. And in terms of the year, when was this we're talking?
so 2013.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying that there was quite a lot going on during that time, that was kind of contributing towards you getting run down.
Yeah.
Anything else in terms of physical stress, mental stress that you think contributed to you getting CFS?
Yes. I mean, for years there was a lot of hard. You know, I lived with my in-laws, and it wasn't a healthy situation, and we were all working in the same business, and it was very uh, nobody listened to anyone. There were like too many chiefs, and it was just like a really not a well-run business. And then it got into trouble and money-wise, and it was quite stressful, always wondering where the money was coming from. and then going into study was even more stressful because I was using more money
Right.
to
Right.
study. So yeah, so that was really hard. But yeah, having some difficult people also in my life that were yeah, not nice. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that
Okay.
was I did a lot of people pleasing, I was sort of always trying to make um certain family members like me because they were, I don't know, threatened or whatever by who I had become. Um and so the more they were cold, the more I would always try, and I'd always done that all my life. So I would always think, I look back now as a therapist, and I can see that little Trish was um, blamed at some point, and it wasn't her fault. And so I was trying to please to get that recognition
Right.
that I was a good girl.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. So it sounds like there was quite a lot of stress. What kind of business was it?
it was a trucking business.
Okay.
It wasn't my interest at all, but
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say it's kind of quite different to what your core interest is, which is around
totally, yeah.
therapeutic work. Okay. So tell us a bit, what were the symptoms of CFS like? What sort of symptoms did you experience?
Um, yeah, so I had a lot of severe exhaustion, which is like the worst flu that never goes away, and your glands are swollen. Um, I've never had real brain fog with flu though, so that was something new. But I could not remember names. I couldn't remember my mobile number. I was every sensitivity, I had. It was sound, light. I had rashes. So my histamine levels were going crazy. I had smell sensitivities. I had POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia, so which took me to the hospital because I was blacking out if I tried to sit up or stand up at times. And the doctor thought I had a clot, and then they found out I didn't. So they said I was fine, and everything was fine. Blood tests were fine. So those were my symptoms, plus fibromyalgia, which
Yeah.
was really painful, like a burning flame going down the side of my right side of my face, right down to this part of my hand, and then it would go down the side of my body to the sole of my right foot. So the whole right side was on fire,
Right.
and that was 2 years. So that was just constant, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I couldn't barely walk, to get to a shower, to wash my hair, to lift my arms.
Right.
Everything was just, there was no energy. Yeah.
So you got those diagnoses, POTS, fibromyalgia. Uh, Apart from the medical diagnosis, what did your doctor say about what was happening?
So my doctor just told me that, well, he actually said, he sat back in his chair and said, I think I'm starting to believe this.
Right.
And he said, I'm getting quite a few people with this, and it's called CFS. I think you've got it.
Right.
And it's, we're being told that it's a lifetime illness. So you need to go home and completely change your lifestyle. So
Right.
that was very upsetting.
Yeah. So he was saying is that, and what was his prognosis in terms of recovery?
He didn't think I would.
Yeah. Yeah. So that must have
Yeah,
been pretty scary.
really, yeah. For a while, but then I was determined. I don't know. It's just something you don't buy into with doctor. I don't buy
Right.
into completely
Right.
eventually, but at
Yeah.
first I was really buying into it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what did you do next?
So well, I was bedridden for the 2 years, And I then seeked out a specialist who was actually a specialist for chronic fatigue. And I went and saw her, this doctor. Um, it was $350 to see her, and I didn't mind because I was so grateful that I would get more information. And all she said was that, yes, you have got it. So she was validating it as real, so that helped. But then she just said, you need to take more salt, and it's a horrible illness. Some people might come out of it in 5 years, 10 years, but most don't.
Right.
And that was
So
it.
yeah, so $350 to be told to increase your uptake of salt. So
Yeah. And she had a book that she'd written, but it was like, really, it was just a health book, on how to be healthy in general.
right, right, okay. So
Yeah.
no other medical help other than having your illness validated.
No, there was nothing there. None of the doctors here in New Zealand, anyway, they don't know, they're not really studying it. So, um, and even in psychiatry, they go down the wrong path.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I remember you said, that, sometimes people are told that they're depressed. I was told
Yeah.
that, oh, you're
Yeah.
just depressed. And it was like, actually, I was doing lots of things to try and get well. That's not the
Yeah.
behavior of someone who's
No,
depressed.
exactly. Yeah. Exactly my words too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I said I'll try them. I'll try the pills because I'm so desperate. But it
yeah,
wasn't that part of the brain in the end that I found was a problem.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
So where did you turn? What did you do next?
So in 2015, I decided to do more holistic because I could tell that I was getting nowhere with the um, medical model. Um, just quickly, I did try low dose naltrexone and GCMAF. They didn't help me at all. I mean, I kind of felt a little bit of a lift in my energy, but it wasn't working. So that was the end of that. So yeah, I went down a holistic pathway and tried acupuncture. Chiropractor had me for 2 years, so that was thousands of dollars. Cranial therapy, then a naturopath. I went back to twice. She was absolutely adamant that I had some disease, something, and I did all these tests, and actually it was depressing me just doing all these tests because it was so exhausting, but I did them. And then you get all these pills and they do nothing. um, I did know that I was low in vitamin D, so I got that sorted, but lots of people are, and they don't have CFS. So and I did find out I was low in B12, and that helped a little bit, but not really. So,
Right.
but at least I knew that I'd covered the things that I was low in,
Yeah, yeah.
and all my
So
organs, everything like that were.
So, sounds like you were spending a lot of money and still seemingly to be on the wrong path. So, did you try anything else?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I was on the wrong path. I know a lot of people have, in the right mindset, used those things, those tools, and got well, but that's sort of something I'll talk about later. So yeah, I gave up on the holistic um, stuff, and I joined the ME group in 2016, and they were very much of a medical model. They were looking for, biomarkers and the mitochondria and all that stuff. And so I was kind of getting caught up in that again. But then I came across a lady, or a few people, who had done the Gupta program. And probably most people know what the Gupta guy is. So he had chronic fatigue syndrome, and he figured it out himself, got himself well, and then he got a lot of people well, and he's still getting a lot of people well. And so I did that, and I learned how to meditate, and I meditated really well and really, a good student. And I did that for 3 months, and my fibromyalgia um, just faded away. It kind of just faded away. And I was like, oh, it's gone. So that was like a miracle.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Um,
Yeah.
so you got rid of the fibromyalgia, but there were other things that weren't quite resolved.
Yeah. Like I kept going because I was feeling hopeful, but nothing else changed. And I think I was just too um, desperate. I had a desperate mind to get well.
Yeah,
And I was, doing the meditation, but it was more like I must do the meditations now, because I've seen it work, and I must, slow down and calm down and all these. But must is not a great word to have in your vocabulary. So
yeah. So
yeah,
what were the things you got rid of the fibromyalgia? What were the things that hadn't shifted?
or everything else was exactly the same. All the symptoms I mentioned before were exactly the same.
Right. Okay.
Light sensitivity. I wore dark glasses in the
Yeah.
house. Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
Sound sensitivity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember you saying back in 2017 you did Neuffer's program. Tell us a bit about that.
With Dan Neuffer.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I did. So I picked up my hope card again and thought, right, I think I need somebody new. Even though I knew Gupta was amazing, I just felt like I needed something fresh.
Yeah.
And so I chose him as the coach, and he had a really good book that I highly recommend. Was really, really good. So that's that. And that was Dan Neuffer. So I went through that program, but I was jumping into it with a real the old Trish, must push, must get this done, must make it work. Um, I was too impatient, and
Yeah.
I think I've always been an impatient person, so I had to
Right.
sort of I didn't realize why it wasn't working though, and I got really frustrated, and then I had a call with him, and he said, you're pushing too hard, and you need to have more fun with it, and just relax and let go, and even just imagine a different character for yourself, like someone who's really happy, and he tried, but I just couldn't. I just wasn't ready. I was
Right.
tired.
Did that approach have any impact?
Yes, it did. It did, actually. It did. I mean, I did start um, having more energy,
Right. Right. Okay.
but not a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
but I did. But a lot of people have had 100% healing from him.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've chatted to Dan. He interviewed me actually. Let's find out. So, this was kind of 2017. So, where were you feeling then, having tried that?
Yeah. Well, um, I kind of felt like I tried that neuro pathway twice, and I was feeling pretty frustrated.
Yeah,
I was like, well, I'm running out of options, and I've gone down about 20 paths, and I definitely don't think those medical ones work for me. And it was now like late to 2017, and I kind of got, yeah, I was like, this is from 2000 and 13 to 2017, of trying, really trying, and I became very low, and I was just unable to do things for my family. I was unable to do my work, which I loved, and I really wanted
yeah,
to return to that. And I didn't have that. I didn't have anything, and it was like I had just lost the battle.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that I'm even saying this, but I do remember I just suddenly felt really dark, and it just, within weeks, I was like, I felt like I didn't want to be here, but I did. I did.
Yeah.
But I was just
Yeah.
like, I can't do this. This is not me. I'm a full on happy person.
Yeah.
I want, I want that back again. And if I can't be that for my family as well. So yeah, I'm just mentioning that because I think it's really important that depression doesn't cause CFS.
So I can
Yeah.
understand that you must have felt pretty exhausted on many levels.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
Yeah. So then I just thought, gosh, I think I need some counselling. So I invested in that, and that was helpful. But my old brain was still really stuck in fight or flight, and I was still not unraveling some of the trauma that I'd had in my life as well, like as a child and things. So it was just a little. The counselling helped to like have someone just to talk to, definitely, but she didn't understand CFS either. So that was as far as you could go with that path. But it was definitely life saving for sure because it really helped me pick up. But unfortunately, my stomach shut down, and which I had never heard of, I had gastroparesis. So my stomach became paralyzed. And long story short, I was on a feeding tube. I was 6 months starving, and then 1 year on a feeding tube. But I got down to 45 kgs, and I'm 5'7", so I was really on my way out. Yeah.
So that's pretty shocking. That's quite an intense period where you were
Hmm.
having, feeding tube. You got back to eating and drinking again. That was like around 2020, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. So about 220. So then Simon, from 220 to 223 November, I just kind of I guess I was really, I mean, obviously, I was really happy that I was eating again and drinking again, but I still had chronic fatigue. And I was a little scared too of what things can happen to you,
Yeah.
how bad it can get, the
Yeah. Yeah.
symptoms. And so I kind of was just living, just,
Yeah.
yeah, just being, and I just lived with it. I was like, I think I just have to live with it. And um, then I started listening to people's success stories and then more. And then I was like, wow, there's a lot of success stories coming through these days, and I was just, it helped a lot, So that's why I'm doing this, because it was so important, to see that people got 100% well, not 50% well, or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and it just reminded me that I once had hope and why I had hope.
Yeah.
And I just was re-remembering that also at uni, learning about the limbic system for survival and the language and how the old brain listens to everything that you're saying, feeling, kinesthetically. And I was quite interested in that. And I was thinking, gosh, these calming tools that I've used actually have been the only thing that's helped. So, and it did stop my fibromyalgia, and I did calm myself back, I believe, to eating again.
Yeah.
So I'm positive, that that was it. So kind of had a bit of a light bulb moment.
Right.
Um, yeah, I was like, oh gosh, I feel really keen to try these neuro pathways again with the knowledge that I had. So yeah, that was good. That was great. It was because it really made me focused again
Yeah.
on that pathway.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
tell us a bit more. What did that kind of look like? What is it
Yeah.
you
So
were doing?
it was more than just like I was doing the meditations and any of those things like chiropractor or massage or all of that stuff. If I could have afforded it, they all would have helped. But you don't need all that. The most important thing I found was that I was just from 24/7 playing a game with my mind and just basically being positive, being aware of how I was sitting even, and if I was clenching my hands, that was a sign. Not, don't do that because the old brain is going to think it has to protect you. And so I was just doing lots of relaxing and not going for like walks to improve my health, but just to improve my mental joy in life. And it was about that. I was just learning to um, also listen to my um, stories of my own past, and when they came up, and I'd be thinking about them instead of pushing them down, by watching TV or something, I was learning to go, well, I'm a therapist, I know what I should be doing, and I need to actually comfort that
Yeah,
sad story that little child went through, Trish,
yeah,
or adult stories that I experienced that were quite traumatic. So I
yeah,
addressed all those. I was relaxing the body, and it just to the point, Simon, where I was laughing and smiling because all these things send a message. You can kind of lie to the old brain, and this is this is a neuroscience now that's really, I mean, fast becoming an effective tool. This
yeah,
is actually happening, just that it's not getting put through the doctor systems, unfortunately. But I've learned now that counselling, it doesn't, even for any problem, it doesn't get to the core of the problem and then solve it. It just goes on kind of back and forth talking. Whereas this kind of work, this neuro linguistic work, talking to the body by yourself, you can do this. It sounds really silly, and I was honestly a few times. That's why I stopped doing it, because I thought this is ridiculous. There's something wrong with me. I'm sick. Like
yeah,
I'm got something wrong. But I was convinced. I was like, no, this is more like these are all the symptoms you had when you were chased by a tiger. In the old days, you had to hide in a cave. You needed a dark place. Everything shut down until you were safe again.
yeah,
And so I was like, well, if that's what it is, I'm going to take that path. And so that was my basically just tricking my old brain, saying everything's fine, even though it wasn't, even though I was still getting histamine and adrenaline and cortisol, going crazy around my body. It eventually became convinced. So it's like you're convincing your robot in the back of your brain who's typing everything down and going, oh, okay, so there's some new data coming in here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I had to keep going though, because the old data was so strong, and to make new like synapses and new strong dominant threads. Um, some people can do it quite quickly though.
yeah,
They just believe this theory that they actually get well in a day.
yeah,
and
yeah,
but you know, um, for me it was third time lucky,
yeah.
and I got well within 3 weeks. And I
Amazing.
was really, really, I could see why. I was so convinced. I was like, oh gosh, I'm actually doing it the right way now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I
And
get it
so
now.
just tell us when was that when you kind of after 3 weeks you felt, oh wow, I feel well. So where
That was last year.
yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so around October, I started, and I was just doing all of the work, like outright lying to the brain that I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm singing. I had a song that I would listen to, and a lot of repetitive stuff too, like just keep the same song. I had it likes the old brain seems to like familiar routines. And so I had a routine as well for the morning. Every morning I would get up, I'd smile no matter what, and no matter how I felt, and I'd just have a routine, have a shower, then, go for a little walk, and then come back, and then always checking in on how my mind is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
sounds like, you were doing work around creating feelings of safety. It sounds like you were doing some inner deep work, working on with the little Trish who, learns
Yes.
to feel quite scared, unsafe, so that you were doing
Yes.
that kind of work. Um,
Yes.
and you were changing some of the patterns in the brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what advice would you give yourself with the benefit of the knowledge and wisdom you have now? If you could go back
mm,
in time and speak to the Trish who got sick with CFS
mm,
back in, was
mm.
it 2016, 2015? What would you be saying to her?
2013.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, yeah. What would you say to her?
Yeah.
What
I
advice would you give her?
well, I I don't know about you, Simon, but I think about that quite often, and I'm like, if I was back then, I just really wish that I'd had that information from a doctor, because it would have saved a lot of trouble. But I would be saying to myself, you know, there's some trauma here, and it's finally come up, and it wants to be heard, and now it's time to do that work for the little self of me. And trauma doesn't have to be a big thing when you're a child. Lots of people have wonderful parents, and they can just have just say one little sentence, and you'll keep it as a negative in your mind, and it can really trigger things. So I was aware of that from my training. So I was really talking a lot. I would tell myself to talk a lot to my little self, and I would go, it's time to reset your whole program in your mind. The whole fight or flight system is actually it's stuck, and it's trying to protect you, and it'll do whatever you tell it to do. But, you're basically sending messages to almost kill you. Like, you don't want to be here almost, getting gastroparesis is pretty serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be telling myself that that's not true, and make sure that you get that message across by using all your neuro tools, which um, are like so easy. They're so easy. A child can do it, but we don't do it, So you got to. I'd be saying to her, you've got to do it. Now you know the knowledge, now you
Yeah.
know the tools. You have to use them full. Forget about everything else in life if you can. As much as possible. I know there's parents and that, but you can practice being calm, positive, funny, ridiculous. Use whatever you've got in your personality, um, and don't, even tell. I would even have told her, explain it well to your family. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing this. It might sound a little crazy, but hey, let's give it a go. With your closest people that are supporting you, I'd make sure, okay, I'm actually going to do quiet time now, because it's important to keep my calm mind. Um, so yeah, you can do it with, people cheering you on as well. Really helps. I would have said that to her, and she would have got well really quickly.
Trish, so thank you for that. Just tell us what life is looking like now.
Now I am already coaching, actually. So I'm really happy. I just love my work, and I am an interior designer as well. So I go for walks I started off, because you've been sick for so long, or down, I should say, for so long that your muscles aren't as strong. And I'm 59, so I started walking, and I really, really picked up. My energy just really got going, and I guess the memory of your muscles remembers. They say that, you were a walker once before, so long story short, I walk 4Ks a day, every day. I don't have to, but I
Yeah.
love it so much. And I
Yeah.
play the most amazing, happy music, and people want to come walking with me. And I'm like, no, this is my time because it's so much fun. So I have this incredible music going that's like really upbeat, positive. You're doing so well. So to make sure that I'm still looking after that side of me as well. And it is, well, I just want to give this gift to as many people as I can because, it definitely is. There's so many pathways that these poor people go down, including myself and including you. And also, thank you, Simon, because your Facebook group really helped me just to pick myself up again as well. And it's really, really positive, focused, and it's just, it was really, really helpful. And plus, you do amazing coaching and are getting people well. So in the end, I did it on my own,
Yeah.
but I had the tools that I had learned as well. So so it can be done.
Yeah, well, listen,
100%.
that's fantastic that you kind of share your message. And, I think it is really important that people understand that
Mm,
people can get well. And you kind of alluded to this earlier. I've had clients who've got well really quickly. And
yeah,
I've had other clients who take longer. And,
yeah,
I say to people, look, it's really important, everyone's different. And so
mm,
it's important that we don't put ourselves under pressure. We just go at our own pace. You've shared some key messages that it is possible. So thanks, Trish, for sharing your story. I will put your details below the video if anyone's got any questions, if anyone wants to get in touch with you. But great to speak to you, and thanks again.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you for all your support.
You are most welcome.